Buckle up, friends. I apologize ahead of time, but this is going to be a long video, but a very informative one. First, go check out my friends over at Falco Holsters, falcoholsters.com. You'll see a holster that we partnered together with to make. That's a really cool inside waistband concealable holster. We're also partnering up to give away one of these holsters along with a SIG P365 Macro X. Go check them out again, falcoholsters.com, falcoholsters.com. A 30-ton shipment of ammonium nitrate has gone missing between Wyoming and California. This 60,000 pounds of fertilizer or explosive material left Cheyenne, Wyoming on April 12th, only to be found empty 2 weeks later at a rail stop in the Mojave Desert. Now, what I've done here is I've pulled up a map, you can find this online, of the American rail system. All these orange lines are the main lines out there. And I've shown where Cheyenne is and where the Mojave Desert is. Now, they're saying that they don't know where this shipment of fertilizer / explosive is. First off, I want to remind everybody that Timothy McVeigh blew up the Oklahoma City FBI building with only 5,000 pounds. This is 12 times more, 60,000 pounds of ammonium nitrate. You're not reading about this anywhere. I had to dig to find all the information I could on here. There's not a whole lot of info out there, and they're acting like this is not a big deal. And they're also saying that this shipment was confirmed to have traveled all the way across Wyoming and still have been there at a checkpoint, and it wasn't until it got to the Mojave Desert that they found all of it was missing. Now, they're saying a seal on the bottom of the rail car could have been the culprit. They're saying that they may have dropped it grain by grain all across the entire rail system. Now, my question is, how do you not know this? As I've identified, this is not like an interstate where a car or truck could have been veering all over the road, spilling its load, or an airplane where it just came out and it's just spread out all over the countryside. There is only one place that this stuff could be if it wasn't hijacked or stolen, right? On the rail system, correct? Shouldn't they be able to go, like I've done, identify the exact rail system that this train traveled on? And if I'm wrong about the rail system it traveled on, they know. They know which one it is. I'm just making an assumption based on their shortest point between point A and point B. So wouldn't it make sense just to go inspect this rail line and tell all of us and put their own fears to rest that, yeah, we found everything? Believe me, I know that this stuff can be watered down and water can dissolve it, but you're passing through a freaking desert. This is going through Las Vegas and then California. It's very unlikely there's been enough rain on the West Coast to have diluted every single pellet of a 60,000 pound load of ammonium nitrate. What worries me about this is the very fact that nobody is making a big deal out of this. Shouldn't the federal government be putting out some kind of a warning, not just to its own internal people, but to everybody else if this truly is missing? Shouldn't we just not assume that maybe it's there? In other words, we should be looking for proof on the rail lines, like I said, or we have to assume it was stolen. And we should be moving to whatever the next step is to say, hey, this is kind of a big deal. Beirut was practically rendered useless a couple years ago where a warehouse of this stuff blew up. So this can provide a lot of damage. The fact that our federal government is not making a bigger deal of this and we're not hearing more about this makes me wonder if we're not going to see, and I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist here, I'm just telling you, look out for some new white extremist stuff to come about this, because that's their thing right now. They're wanting to find a way to link us, honest law-abiding gun owners, to every single negative thing that happens in this country. And if we see an explosion that happens in the next few weeks or whenever, I don't know how long you can actually hold on to ammonium nitrate and it remains effective, but if we see a major explosion somewhere, I'm going to have to look directly back at this and wonder why we didn't do a better job to run this stuff down. If I'm in that general vicinity or that area of the country, I'm a little bit worried right now, especially around big cities. Joe Biden and his federal government have been weaponized, and Joe Biden has come right out and said that we are the problem, right? He's already said that. And I say we because it doesn't mean that you have to be part of some kind of violent extremist group. Nothing like that. They've already begun this process of painting everybody who is a Second Amendment rights advocate as being some kind of an extremist. They've already painted us with the broad brush of saying that if you are a firearms enthusiast, if you train, all of these factors they have already said that are normal. They have said that you could potentially be a violent extremist. So they're already putting out the breadcrumbs out there to lead back to everybody else that's just doing a normal thing. Nothing that we do is out of the ordinary, but they're putting us in a box because they're trying to make it look like we are a subset of people that need to be not only monitored, but also dismissed when it comes to any kind of political discussion. On top of that, Democrat Senator Michael Bennet of Colorado has introduced in the Senate a bill that would create a federal agency tasked with policing the American people's speech to crack down on misinformation and hate speech. So essentially, if you already are put into these boxes as being some kind of potential extremist, now they're going to say that you're disseminating misinformation if you call out their BS. So if Biden is saying that we're all a bunch of white supremacists and we're all a danger because we're Second Amendment rights advocates and we're gun people, suddenly they've already said who you are. So when you call them out and say that's wrong, now that's going to be misinformation. So you're going to be put on another list and labeled additionally. And while I was doing all of my research, I happened to run across this. Have you guys seen this? The U.S. Violent Extremist Mobilization Indicators 2021 edition. Now, I want to point out, first of all, that you're going to see no mention or no indicator of Black Lives Matter or Antifa in this entire thing. This is a handbook that's put out by the FBI, the National Counterterrorism Center, and the Department of Homeland Security. All organizations that are known for spying on Americans and setting them up. But look at the things that they tell you to look out for in order to identify these violent extremists who are stateside. Unusual purchase of military-style tactical equipment, for example, body armor or personal protective equipment, in a manner that raises suspicion of planning violence. Notice they've been after plate carriers and body armor for quite some time now. Notice they've even, I think the Buffalo shooter had actual plates, and their latest white supremacist Mexican in Dallas had on a plate carrier. I do not think he had body armor on, but still, this would be considered military-style tactical equipment if you purchase it. Acquisition of weapons or ammunition for suspected criminal purposes. Now, obviously, they don't know what the criminal purpose is or the not criminal purpose, but if they put in the word suspected criminal purpose, well, this is going to give them the leverage they need to surveil you. Change in or initiation of physical or weapons training for suspected criminal purposes. Again, this goes back to the training. You are going to be considered an extremist if you find yourself at the range simply doing your normal training in order to protect yourself or your family. Creating, joining, or implying membership association in person or online with violent extremists for the purpose of furthering violent activity. This goes again back to belonging to any kind of a group, whether it's a gun range, any kind of a training facility or anything like that, group of guys that might train on the weekends, or, and this is not a stretch, some of the gun rights activist groups out there. Threatening violence towards specific individuals, including civilian, government, law enforcement, or military personnel. This is where I'm worrisome about some of the comments people will put down below and on social media. When you're making these threats, look, I know that 99.99% of the threats out there that somebody makes, would never act on them, and they're angry, and they're just saying them because this is the room everybody is in and we're talking about it. I caution people to not make those kind of comments in the comment section on my videos or anywhere else, just because don't put yourself on some kind of a stupid list if there's no need for it. You don't need that problem in your life. Producing, promoting, or extensively consuming violent extremist content online or in person, including violent extremist videos, narratives, media, and messaging for suspected criminal purposes. Well, if you're watching this video, then you're probably on a list, because I know that I'm in this category. I know that they are going to say, and again, they can use YouTube's very own community standards in order to bolster what their opinion of me is, saying that any of the previous videos that I put out about protecting yourself, putting together a firearm, defending yourself against an attacker, anything like that, a gun review, or anything that I state that the government or anyone else is trying to do against you and you need to retaliate, that's going to fall under this also. Posing with weapons and imagery associated with violent extremism in photos or videos, especially if paired with threats or express interest in carrying out violence against ideological target for suspected criminal purposes. Look, they're just going to take those first three words, posing with weapons. Unless you're doing this like what many of us are doing online, and you do this, I don't want to say as a business, but you have a channel and you're producing content, you're doing that, I don't think it's a good idea to be posing with your weapons, posting pictures of your weapons or anything like that. Not saying that there's anything wrong with that. I certainly don't believe that in any kind of way, because again, the massive 99.99999, let's go as far as we can, amount of gun owners out there have no intent on doing anything except protecting themselves. But it's that 0.000000001% of people out there who have posted things and then going on to shoot up a supermarket or something like that. They're throwing all of us into that same category. Increasing our extreme adherence to conspiracy theories as a justification of violence against ideological targets. Again, all they're really concerned with is those first few words, increasing our extreme adherence to conspiracy theories. So this is where they go back to that bill that they're going to talk about putting out there, where they're going to have their compliance police online. If you believed in, and you were right, let's say the Hunter Biden laptop conspiracy theory. Oh yeah, at first it was a conspiracy theory. Found out it was true. You would have been right. But you probably had information that you shared listed as being misinformation. How about the COVID origin? And not to mention all the other lies about COVID, but how about the COVID origin, where it did originate in a lab? You were not only ostracized, but you also, in some cases like me, your videos were taken down and you were given strikes on YouTube because you passed on information that later on, come to find out, was 100% true. So all these things, let's face it, conspiracies are all theories until they're proven right, until you're proven right. So they're going to take something that they fight, like Joe Biden saying that you were a white supremacist because you were a Second Amendment gun rights advocate and you're a gun owner.
The most dangerous terrorist threat to our homeland is white supremacy.
He's going to say that you are a potential violent extremist. When you say no, and this is a lie, you will be dinged for being a conspiracy theorist because you're going against what Joe Biden and these other wacko nutbags on the left are saying about you. Friends, the best advice that I can give anyone out there is watch your back. Again, we have 60 tons of explosives that's missing, and it doesn't appear that anybody's really looking for it. So watch your back. Stay away from heavily populated areas just to be on the safe side. I don't know anything. Don't anybody, oh, well, you sound like you know something. No, I'm telling you what I would do if I were in these areas and what I'm doing even not in those areas, because I'm very suspicious whenever 60 tons of explosives go missing and people go,
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.